inspiring, passion.
And we're on right now.
So Mr. Malloy had us learn about systems and how they affect us and how our country's built on systems, and we went into the Constitution is built on a system, and then we watched a movie, Animal Farm, about how dystopia and utopia have a perfect system, and then it helped us learn about this so we could have an artist come and help us learn how systems balance out and show. So I made by mobiles, and so we're making a mobile in the cafeteria on the ceiling of it. So I made my mobile sketch, and how I did it is that it's a pretty basic system, and everyone is within everyone is within the basic system, but then there's outliers that try to throw off the balance. But there's still individualism where I have different random shapes in my system, and it's also going to be different colors, so each person has their own individualism, whatever they want to do. So that's how I drew mine, so it kind of shows all the different steps of our Constitution, where it's a big basic idea, but then everyone has their own individual idea, own personal, that they want to be different from everyone else. So that's my system.
My name is Kristen Chestnut. I graduated Jackson Middle School in 2008, and I am now a freshman at Stanford University. I remember the Artful Learning at Jackson Middle School being an integral part of my experience. The most unique experience I had was 8th grade. We worked on hanging mobiles, and we used the ideas that the hanging mobile was symbolic of systems in general, but also as a government structure. And we had 4 different classes who each chose their own structure. We had shapes. We could make shapes out of plastic board, and we could choose our own shape and color, but our class had to come with a structure and a general idea that we wanted to propose. My specific role, me and this other girl, we were able to write out the dimensions and have an analytical perspective of it, which was an amazing experience for me, because it gave me a leadership role in our government structure, and it was so interesting to give our decision of what we did with it was we put together the boards, and everyone could choose their own shape and their own color, but there had to be a certain amount of each color in each board hanging from designated points. This was like a structure. Everyone has to be an individual, and they have certain liberties, but they have to go under the main structure and be able to live in the government. We related our structures to the utopian and dystopian models. We read the book Animal Farm and analyzed how it kind of went from the utopia to the dystopia, and how important the structure was to maintain the balance and keep all the individuals in check and to stay under the structure and stay balanced. We also related this to the Constitution, and how the Constitution was a compromise in keeping the checks and balances and keeping all the individuals in structure of this one universal government, and how it was so important to give certain liberties to the individual, but really the bigger importance was keeping the balance and checks and balances, and how the government uses all those systems in order to keep a balance in society so that we can have our individual liberties, but as soon as it gets out of balance, it is very evident with the whole system. It's also been really interesting because this year, as a freshman at Stanford, I've run into a lot of these similar concepts. I took a class, it was dealing with this last century and a lot of the governments that we have seen in the world that have been successful or been unsuccessful. And it was interesting to these were all based on my first experience with political models and this visualization that I had created in the hanging mobiles. And looking at, you have different governments, you can see how like a communist would be very similar, but the beauty of the democracy in our government and the Constitution has created that we all have these individual takes on it that we were able to create as 8th graders in my bright pink, rigid shape. That was so important in creating my individual take within our government structure. Leonard Bernstein has been really important to me this year because I am a musician and pursuing violin as well as conducting, and he is an amazing man because he has not only blessed our country with his beautiful music and his talent, but he had really the choice to do so many different things, but he took his passion and pursuits to educate young people and understood the importance of that. And I have worked with many conductors, and the one thing that holds them all together, and one of their most important stories that they've told me, is their time they spent with him, and how he was just such a wonderful man and always took the time to get to know the individuals and the students because he understood the importance of that. And it is cool to have the 2nd degree and understand how the Artful Learning and how important that is to my middle school experience, but how it's really reflected on my life as a whole. I think the Artful Learning process is very hands-on and really inspiring, getting students involved in art at the same time they're learning the importance of education and involving them in their education so that they have a passion moving forward in all aspects of life.
What do you guys think? It's awesome. Amazing.
Hey, give it up for your mobile. Come on. Let's go.
Awesome. All right.